Hello, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Elements of Success. I'm Safriana Luna, the Queer Spirit Guide, and as always, I am so delighted to be here with you to hopefully share some important information, something that you need to hear, a message that sparks you and helps you go even deeper in your self expression and embodiment. Today, we are talking about the creative fire and embodied expression. And this is so important because without expression, we don't show up in the world. We have to express ourselves in order to really show up in the world. So, today we're going to dive into all things creative fire and what embodiment looks like. So, as I said, I'm Safriana. And if this is your first time, just know that I am a licensed trauma therapist turned transformational mentor. I have been working in the spiritual world and energetic healing world for almost 20 years now and bring both the bridges of logic and spirituality to the table so that you can be your whole embodied self. So, just to check in about last time, I'm curious how your intention setting went. We talked a lot about how your intention is like your focused laser beam, your fire towards actually creating and co creating what you want in the world. And so, your intention is that focal point, it is the laser pointer saying, this is what I'm going to focus on. So, I would love to know whether you leave it in a comment, you email me how this is coming along. Good to see you, Lisa. Good to see you, Nancy. What intentions have you been holding? And did you actually follow through with your intentions? If so, what did that feel like? Because this is the where the magic really, really happens is in the follow through. We can have our intentions till the cows come home, but our intentions are just one little piece of it. We then have to follow through. That's where the fire actually can stir. So I'm curious what you might have noticed about motivation versus willpower, because we talked about how motivation can be quite the myth. And our willpower is what we have all the time. We can tap into that willpower. So now that you have oriented to intentions and how they help you focus, now I want us to move in this fire arc into actually how do we express ourselves? How do we create these creative channels so that we can move that fire into a tangible form? See that spark of our soul, our intention, etc., actually coming through. So, creativity is like your sacred fire. Every act of creativity actually channels your sacred fire or your spirit into the world. I see creativity as your soul's expression. Your creative fire, your creative energy is like a life force being expressed through you. It's made visible, tangible, shareable, something that moves from you to outside of you. That is what creativity is ultimately about. Creativity is a direct expression of your soul. So, what you create, whether you create a meal, a garden plot, a story, a poem, a drawing, it doesn't really matter. It's a direct expression of your soul coming out. And as I just implied, it's not limited to art. It's bringing anything new into being. As a druid, as a gardener, as a lover of the land, I think that our creative fire and our spirit even comes through in gardening and planting seeds and cultivating them to grow because it's still bringing something new into being. Now, why is that any different, right? Why is a seed any different than paint? We're still cultivating something that we're bringing into the world. So, we use our tools, we use whatever we have at our disposal, we use the thoughts, feelings, emotions, etc., and we channel them through into something else. And creativity can be a spiritual practice that connects you to source. Ritual can be extremely creative. Creating a mandala, reorganizing your altar, organizing your spiritual books. All of those can be creative if you're bringing that spark of intention and you are co-creating with something, with an energy, a feeling, etc., bringing something out, then you're being creative. So there's not one right or wrong way to do this, but we all need to stoke that creative fire because it's literally our soul and spirit's expression in the world. And I think it's really cool, we're using the elements. I haven't talked about this thus far. I'd be curious to kind of go back to some of the elements we've already covered, but fire in particular is very much tied into creativity across cultures and religions and spiritual forms. The Hindu goddess Shakti is seen as pure creative power. Brigid in the Celtic tradition, who I've taken priestess vows to Brigid, if you didn't know that, is a goddess of fire. She's also a goddess of water, but poetry and the forge, so a lot of creative forces. Pele and the Hawaiian tradition is a goddess of volcanic creation and transformation. We'll talk a little next week about destruction. And the Holy Spirit is seen as tongues of flame. And, everybody is supposed to possess the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit moves through them. And then Kundalini is seen as the serpent fire rising through the body. So there's all of this sort of cross cultural, cross religious, cross pantheon hints that show us our spirit is tied into the element of fire, and that creative fire really connects us to source, to the universe, to God, whatever you want to call it, our higher selves, and to our spirit. So why does creativity fuel us? And I don't know, I would love to just invite you to reflect on when you have been in kind of a fallow period of your life. You're not really creating. It just feels like there's nothing happening. You're maybe feeling stuck. You're not cooking. You're not painting. You're not writing. You're not gardening. Like, do you feel good? I wonder if you can think back to a time in your life where you just weren't engaged with your spirit, weren't engaged with expressing yourself and what that felt like. I know I certainly have. I've gone years before due to all kinds of internalized stories and outside factors, not painting, not writing stories, not writing poems, and feeling like I'd really lost pieces of myself. So it's really our creative power makes us feel alive. When we use it, it gives form to what lives inside of us. We are able to fully express ourselves. We're not bottling things up. It releases, our creativity can release stuck energy and emotion. Nothing quite like writing a poem to vent your feelings, right? Or doing a scribble drawing. I will never forget. I can still imagine it when I was 15 and my dad grounded me for life and I was brokenhearted and it was all dramatic, but I did this painting and I let it all out and it was the most hideous painting I've ever seen. I later burned it. Fire, right? Like I got it out and then I symbolically let it go and it helped me move a lot. I've done so much since then. Similar, but that memory was really the first time I remember both getting something really out on the canvas and then actually lighting it on fire to let it go. It was very magical. So our creative fire also creates that flow state. When we get into a flow state and everything's just kind of going, time disappears, we have really fueled that fire and it's sustaining us. That's why we're losing track of time. We're sustained and we can keep flowing through. Our creative fire can connect us to our purpose and our meaning. So much of my purpose and meaning in life is writing my novels. I love to teach. I love to help clients. I love to do rituals, but ultimately my favorite form of creativity is writing. And when I write, I feel connected to my purpose and my meaning in ways that I don't even in all the other work that I do. So what connects you to purpose and meaning when you're creating? That's a great question, is like, what do you create that gives you that purpose and meaning? Again, for some, it might be cooking food. It could be gardening. It could be sculpting, making jewelry, helping people design their spaces. The sky is the limit about what creativity can look like. But ultimately, our creativity proves we can manifest the unseen into the seen. So creative forces prove we can bring something from in here, in here, in here, and we can bring it out. So whether it's stuck in our head, our heart, our body, we can bring it out and it can become something else that we can show to others, share with others, or keep to ourselves. But it's something that becomes made out here, whether a sound, a consumable, or a piece of art. If you don't create, you're kind of damming up your life force. It's getting all bottled up in there. So I encourage you to let it free. And when you are actually expressing yourself routinely, you can also pair this with aligned actions. So, our whole fire theme and in the seasons framework where we're at right now, we're talking about aligned actions, actually going and doing the stuff we need to do. So, when we're creating from a soul aligned place, we're expressing that fire, we're fueling ourselves. This can show up in aligned action because we're taking the action to create and it gives us energy. Our body is saying yes before our mind even has time to approve. We're following our pleasure, which we're going to talk about more today, and our curiosity as guides. Time disappears. Again, we're in that flow state, and the process matters more than perfection. That's how we know it's all coming from alignment because it's creating this energy. We're saying yes to ourselves. We're following our pleasure. We're flowing, and we are enjoying the process. Big yes energy. Let's talk a little bit about how you can be creative. So there are so many pathways of embodied creation through your hands. So that might be making, building, touching, tending. This might be using tools through your body. So movement, dance, physical labor, intimacy. Through your voice, speaking, singing, chanting, teaching, light language. Through your vision. So creating art, design, photography, imagining even is part of creation, right? And then we bring it out through the aligned action. Through our relationships. So that might look like facilitating, organizing, collaborating, parenting. All of these things can be creative, my friends. And then, of course, through the earth. So gardening, cooking, land tending. All of these things we can create through our hands, our body, our voice. We can make stuff. We can improve relationships. We can tend the earth. All of these things are creative. And art as fire practice is embodied creation. So it happens whenever, again, you channel that life force energy through your physical form into the world, painting, sculpting, jewelry making, etc. Your body holds wisdom, trauma, and stories. So movement releases them creatively. So that's where dance, exercise, all of that can be very creative as well because it's moving what's in us out. And then our voice is our unique vibration in the world. If you think about it that way, it really is our vibrational signature, how we are identified by other hearing beings in the world is through this vibration of the voice. Now, let's talk a little bit about why your creative fire gets dimmed. So I mentioned, thinking about times where you haven't been so creative or you felt really stuck. Here are some big reasons why this happens. First and foremost, perfectionism and self-judgment. So many of us are striving for perfection that we just don't get started because we are afraid that it is not going to meet some invisible standards, that it's not going to be up to what we're hoping or expecting of ourselves, etc. Self-judgment can come in so many ways. It's not good enough. I'm not good enough. Comparison to others' work absolutely falls into that as well. Anytime, and I know I am so guilty of this when it comes to my painting. Fun fact, past story, I guess. I was actually known in my high school as like the artist of my grade. I was not the most talented painter in the whole school or anything by that stretch, but I painted voraciously. I had art 3 classes a day. I painted all the time. And people knew me for it. I was in galleries at like 16, 17, and then I lost a scholarship for a whole reason I'm not going to get into today. But ultimately it wasn't fair. But I took that story into myself that I wasn't good enough. I compared myself to other people's work, that my work wasn't realistic enough. It wasn't detailed enough. It certainly was expressive enough. But whatever I could do to compare, to tear myself down and make it make sense why I had lost. And I stopped painting for years. I literally stopped painting for years. There was I think about a 5 to 6 year span where I painted one thing in that entire duration. And that was, it was the perfectionism, the self-judgment, the comparison to others' work. It really pulled me away. Comment here. We also feel like people don't give enough value to the creativity it takes to build systems for your job or business. You can find real creative expression in creating an Excel sheet. Yes, this is I'm glad you framed it this way. This is exactly right. We can be creative in anything. And I'm really in a chapter right now of challenging myself to figure out where can I have more fun and be more creative with what I'm doing. Because if I'm not bringing that creative spark to it, I'm not really coming from that aligned action and that energy of fire, right? You can create in any way. And that Excel sheet, you know, from creating something that's optimizing and building something up to even making it more organized and beautiful, that can be all creative expression. So, another big reason we can end up really feeling disconnected or depleted is just being disconnected from our bodies. We are very largely dissociated. Talking about, we'll go back to the Excel sheet for a second. A lot of our jobs and tasks are online. They're happening digitally, so we're very still. And we might be, typing away and looking up and down at our screen and maybe around a little bit, but we're not expressing through our bodies as much as, say, like a Broadway actor is going to, or a pop singer's backup dancer. Like, they're going to be using their body a lot more, and they can't be disconnected from it. A construction worker making a building can't really be disconnected from their body too much. But many of us, especially who are sitting behind screens, are disconnected from our physical forms. And so, again, it doesn't have to be for anyone. You don't have to perform it, but movement, especially just feeling your feelings and moving your body accordingly to get them out, can be highly creative. It doesn't have to be for anyone. And let me just, I know I'm going to talk about this later, but I feel like I need to say it now to really keep hammering the point home, which is that your creativity does not have to be commodified. You do not have to sell everything that you are creating. So you don't have to dance for anyone else but you. You don't have to write for anyone else but you, or make that Excel sheet for anyone but you can share it. That's part of creativity. Depletion. This is what I'm really struggling with personally right now. Depletion from giving all your energy away. So let's say you know you're a highly creative person. I know that about myself, right? And you're expressing your creativity. You are making the Excel sheets. You are doing the blogs. You are taking the photos. You're doing the garden. You're doing whatever that you feel like you need to do. But is it for you? Is it for others? Is it really what you want to be doing? There's a couple different sneaky ways we can end up giving our energy away where it's not really authentic to us. So this could be overwork, over giving, over taking on. It can be putting all of our eggs in the baskets that don't really matter to us and giving all of our energy away towards distractions. This can come in many forms, but when we give all our energy away, we're not going to have any for what we want to do with it. So it's important that we maintain and preserve some for us. And then, of course, waiting for external permission or validation. For the longest time, I was waiting for that with my writing career. I really, really felt like I had to have external permission to be an author and validation that my work was really good before I did it. And eventually I got through that, and I just published some things, and it went okay. But we have this waiting energy we can get into because we're used to looking for external authority figures to tell us what's right. So the antidote is to return to your body through breath and movement, to create for yourself alone first with no audience. And that's if for example, like me, you're creating a product or project to put out in the world, in my case, like books. The first go round is for you. It's your expression. It's not in front of anyone else yet. Create, create for yourself, create what you want to create. And then if you are moving towards sharing it with an audience, then it can be for your audience and then you can refine it. But it's so important to just create without filter, without plan sometimes, to just create for yourself. And I love this. Make something bad on purpose to break perfectionism. Whether it's writing a really cruddy poem, or my really bad painting that I can think of when I was 15. Or I had a client who was just absolutely frozen as a ceramicist because she didn't feel like her work was good enough. And so I suggested she go and she do ceramics with her offhand as the dominant, just to see if she could intentionally make something she considered really bad. Uh, Sometimes just breaking that spell can be a huge burden lifted. So some common other sort of blocks to our creative fire can look like shame. So shame about our body, shame about our creativity, our voice, our desires. I was really shamed for wanting to pursue writing as a career. My family did not agree with that at all, and I was sort of put down like you're gonna need a real job. And so I developed this shame that my writing wasn't a real thing to do. It was meaningless, right? So those little messages can get under the surface and stick there until we clear them. So it's really important to think about, like, when it comes to expressing myself creatively, is there a shame? Is there a shameful story I'm holding that's keeping me blocked there? Messages that pleasure and joy are selfish or wrong. Hello. You probably you probably have experienced this one if you live in modern United States or any any country where there's media, any country where we have this really um just problematic stories about how us enjoying ourselves is wrong. I think there's a lot of religion that gets caught up in here, um, a lot of religious messages, a lot of purity culture messages. And expression is meant to be enjoyable, even if we're in great grief and we're just, not doing well. So, trauma can disconnect us from our body. And that can be another kind of story or message playing in the background. And then cultural conditioning, I already kind of mentioned that. And then fear of our own power. This is often where I get stuck these days, a fear of success, a fear of our own power in the world, because based on the messages we receive in the cultural conditioning, especially if you are a woman or assigned female at birth or were socialized as a girl, right? There's a lot of narratives we get about needing to give away our power and stay small. But all of us fear our own power ultimately when it comes down to it, because it's probably been shut down again and again and again. Our creative This is what I was getting at, the creative practice versus the creative product. You do not have to make stuff to sell. Repeat. You do not have to make stuff to sell. Your creativity does not have to be for sale. You do not have to commodify it. It does not have to become your living. If you are a person like me, where your creativity, you want it to be your vocation, you want it to fuel you, buckle up, right? It does take consistency. It takes putting ourselves out there. It takes consistently creating, all of that, to have that be a vocation. But too many people love creating until they get that pressure that they need to use that creativity to make money. So you don't have to do that. You do not have to go there. Give yourself permission for your creativity not to fuel your lifestyle, or to build up to it fueling your lifestyle over time, rather than putting all of that pressure on it at once, because I know that that pressure can just make us not want to create at all. So if you only value the finished product, creating will feel high stake. So if you are like, I need to get the book done, I need to get the CD done, I need to get the spreadsheet done because it's only valuable when it's done, then you're already creating this energy of, again, just high stakes pressure, and that doesn't feel good. You end up stopping your experimentation and you stop playing and you stop having fun, and it becomes so serious. Ugh. And again, I've been here, I've been through all of it. So When we're worried about that product, so, oh no, I need to sell this, I need to bring it out, and it's going to be for other people, we can also find ourselves judging ourselves constantly while we're trying to create. I know for me, one of the traps I get caught in when I start a new writing project is I start trying to edit as I'm going for my audience, and it trips me up every time. I get in that judgment loop and I can't really create for myself first because I'm stuck in editing for some future person that's probably not even going to end up reading this piece for another year, right? So we need to kind of stop tricking ourselves into all this pressure because we're the ones that are putting that pressure on. And then we lose the joy that fuels our sustainable creativity. So our joy really gets drained when we are thinking about a product instead of just the practice of being creative. So, again, the sort of antidote is to create for the sake of creating, to move your energy, to express, to play, to discover, and think of the product as the beautiful side effect to your exploration. So if you are making a product, let it be the side effect. And oh, wow, we've arrived at the product, but I'm sure glad I enjoyed myself along the way. That is so much better than, oh my gosh, I need to make this thing. It needs to do this time, and I need to do it, and I got to do it. And like just this energy of I have to. Can we let that go and create for the sake of creating? I've been implying this trap. Like there's these traps, these tricks, these things we tell ourselves. And this is a big one. So moving from thinking to creating, and the trap of perpetual planning. So when we think about creating, but we never get around to the actual creation, we just keep planning, 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 planning. This is absolutely going to dim that creative fire, and it's going to not have the results that you want. You're not going to finish the thing because you're still thinking about how you're going to create it. So, overthinking without action drains us. Analysis paralysis keeps us stuck in our head. Perfectionism blocks that creative flow, and waiting to feel ready means that we're just never going to start. So listen to your body, let yourself do the thing. If you feel a yes in your body that you want to create something, can you sink from your thinking mind down into your body and feel the expression come through? My invitation to you is to really find the bridge with the spirit and the body, allowing your spirit, your soul, your creative essence to move through your body instead of getting stuck in your thinking brain. Because your body wisdom guides that authentic and aligned action. Embodied really means living in your body, not just your head, trusting your body's signals and sensations, making decisions from your gut, not just logic, your intuition, your sacral response, your splenic response. If you're familiar with human design, trust decisions ultimately from your design. But we want to feel the decision somewhat in our body, not just our head. And allowing our body to lead creation. Again, creation comes through your hands, through your voice. I just sang some light language yesterday just because I felt like it, and it was very freeing. Just let my voice express. And recognizing your body as intelligent and wise. So if you feel tense when you sit down to create, you can get curious about that. You can wonder at it instead of letting it run the show. And you're creating from embodiment when you're present. That is the ultimate thing. You are present. That is how you know you're creating from embodiment. But time feels different. We've talked about that flow state. You're aware of your sensations. You might have more easy breaths or feel like energy's moving through you. You're not stuck. You're not frozen. You're not thinking about the outcome. You are just creating. You can feel very alive and awake and connected in this flow state. So let's talk about a couple of practices before we get into our meditation here in a bit. So how can you begin to ignite or reignite the creative fire in the body? One is a body scan. So a body scan is a super simple practice. You literally just imagine almost like you've got a bar, like one of those metal detector bars, just scanning you from head to toe. And as it goes and it moves through your body, you're just paying attention. Where do you feel energy, tingliness, expansiveness, softness? Where do you feel stuck? Where do you feel tight, wound up, pain? All of anything that is just that's different than there. So you scan head to toe, noticing all the sensations in your body, and then breathing into those areas that might feel tight or numb or unpleasant. And when I say breathe into, if you've never been guided through a breath practice before, you're literally just imagining as your breath expands that you're pushing some of the air into that area of the body as if to clear it. It's a simple kind of visualization or practice. So just allowing your body to soften where it can, and then allowing your body to let you know what you need to express after you've kind of gotten. So maybe you're like, ooh, I'm really tense in my stomach. Okay, I'm going to breathe into that for a little bit. What's there? Ooh, I'm anxious about this big project coming up and I need to move some of that energy. So maybe I want to express this through putting on a song and dancing, right? Like giving yourself the time to really assess what you need. Speaking of which, movement to access the creative state is the next idea. This is actually the one that I go to more often than body scanning because I'm normally I always struggle with this word, sedentary, because I do a lot of desk work. So if I'm feeling really stuck and like I'm struggling with the creative state, I'm going to get up and go dance. I'm going to get up and go put music on and shake it out. But you can literally just kind of shake your limbs out some. You can wiggle. You can do 5 minutes of free form movement, stretch, go take a walk in your yard, or engage in some juicy sexuality. Uh, Sexuality and creative fire go hand in hand. We're about to dive into that. So, movement is a really, really powerful tool because it's automatically going to get you back embodied so that you can, again, pull that thread of spirituality down, connect with it. Let's talk about sex. So, sexuality and creative energy are our personal power. I want to be so clear here with several things. One, aligned sexual energy is creation energy. It's the same force. It's the same. It's almost like in the brain, our food pleasure center and our sex pleasure center are the same part of the brain. So I don't know about you, but sometimes literally when I'm having sex, I think about food. And when I'm having good food, I think about sex because it's the same part of the brain, my friends. So, similarly, aligned sexual energy and going and doing a painting are almost accessing the same part of your energy, of your spiritual expression. The energy that creates babies and businesses and art and change, it's all the same force. It is your vitality, your aliveness, your juice, if you will. But society teaches us shame around this, whether it be around our actual sexual expression or our visual creative, dancing creative, whatever creative expression. And this is because society at large does not want empowered individuals. It wants peons. So when you are resourced and you're feeling juicy, pleasure, alive, joy, it's very hard to control you. Now, I do want to be so clear that asexual identities exist and they are still creative beings. You do not have to have sex to express this energy because, again, it's this big bucket of energy, and you could express it in sexuality, or you can express it in all of these other ways we've explored, or all of the above. So, reclaiming your creation energy means reclaiming your full power. If you are a sexual being, that can mean reclaiming a healthy sexual relationship. And I know, just going to speak vulnerably here for a moment. I am a multi-time survivor of sexual assault and abuse, and I do absolutely know what it feels like to be disconnected from your body and your sexuality because it's been dangerous or scary or pressury or without consent. And that's why I said aligned sex that you want, that you are a full body yes to. That is the expression of that energy, not force, not coercion. But when you have experienced trauma, it can be hard to connect to that. So I just want to say that and say, I see you if you are struggling with that. That's why I put these two things together, because you don't have to go right into the sexuality. You're allowed to create in all kinds of different ways. But you can see here, sexuality and creativity both require presence in your body. They involve vulnerability and opening the self up, connecting you to pleasure and aliveness, inviting something new into existence, or can invite something new into existence. They're often tied to spirituality and expression. I mean, that's why we have Kundalini. That's why purity culture exists, right? A lot of religion and control of sexuality go hand in hand. And creating from a sensory experience, right? Like sex and creating something are sensory experiences. So, once again, just to reiterate, you do not have to be sexual to access creation energy, but healthy sexual energy is inherently creative. And I love this image of this woman with the flowers here and her neck open, because this sensuality, we can be sensual without being sexual. We can be sexual without being sensual. But a lot of this is because patriarchy and colonization have suppressed body-based wisdom, which is more of that feminine. Oh God, I hate using gendered terms, people. I hate it because it brings up so much instantaneously societally. But think of feminine energy for a moment as Mother Earth. It is the abundance to birth and create new things from seeds. And that has kind of gotten packaged down into woman make baby. And I'm not here for that. I mean, if you want to have babies, have all the babies you want, but not this one size, sexuality for women is to have babies. Pleasure is an inherent human right. Again, we want it consensual. It's often not in the patriarchy and with colonization, because that is power and control. And women, queer folks, indigenous people, BIPOC, people of color, Black, brown, all of those populations have been punished for being embodied in their power, for expressing themselves creatively or sexually. So this is a patriarchy, colonialism, imperialism problem. It creates this suppression of the sacred feminine and that form of sexuality and power, which all of us possess. And when pleasure, sexuality, and creative expression have been demonized across time and space and culture, we have this legacy, this generational burden of shame and disconnection from our bodies. So, healing for us means reclaiming our bodies as sacred, our pleasure as holy, and our creative fire as our birthright. And that's all I'm going to say on that for now. The body mind split. I've implied a few times today that we want to get out of the thinking into the body. We want to connect that thread of the spirit down. And this is because trauma teaches us to leave our bodies for safety. So the moment our nervous system feels like we're unsafe, we're going to try to vacate the premises of the unsafe feeling, even if we're actually safe. Even if in reality we're actually safe, if we've experienced trauma, our nervous system might trigger this immediately. Leave, get out of your body. It's unsafe. And then we layer in all of our societal stuff that we're doing that's just not healthy for anyone, such as hustle culture, where we value thinking over feeling. And we wonder why our nervous systems can't get a system update. That's because our stories and our thinking are running the show so completely. We're taught to ignore body signals such as hunger, fatigue, and pain. I mean, I remember being a teacher, and it was like, if I really had to go to the bathroom in the middle of class, I better shut that down, because the likelihood of me being able to find another adult to come watch my kids, forget it. So we can be taught to ignore these body signals and override in order to be productive or any other number of things. Productivity demands overriding our embodied needs, ultimately. And screens absolutely pull us out of physical presence. So our creativity invites us to come back to our body and to reclaim our bliss, to enjoy being embodied. Let's redefine pleasure as your fuel for your fire. Okay? You need to hear this. We all need to hear this. Your pleasure is not indulgence or selfishness, it's your life force. It fuels you. Enjoying yourself means that there's a reason to keep on living. If you're not enjoying yourself, I'm a trauma therapist. I am not a stranger to people wanting to leave this plane of existence. It's really hard to want to be here if you're not enjoying yourself at all. If every day is just a day of misery, you're not going to want to be here. It's essential we all reclaim pleasure. Again, it's been demonized, it's been shamed, it's been repackaged as selfishness. This is untrue. Your pleasure is your felt sense of being alive and present. Pleasure comes in all kinds of forms. Eating good food, listening to beautiful music, smelling something just delicious or just good. Putting our feet on the earth, getting a massage, going in the water, taking a hot shower. Literally, I could list a billion things that can be pleasurable. Anything almost just about could be pleasurable depending on how you approach it. But what makes you feel good in your body? How do you layer in more of that? What generates rather than depletes your energy? That is where you get to enjoy yourself more. It's your pleasure is like a compass that points you towards authenticity. Do more of what lights you up. Every time I have a conversation with someone where we're talking about, my various things I do in the world, because I'm super duper multi-passionate, if you haven't figured that out. So I might be talking about my podcasts and my client work and my ritual offerings. And then I come around to talking about my novels, and everyone says, "Oh, your whole energy just changed." My fire goes I get so much happier and so much more alive, and everything just my fuel gets lit. That's what I invite you to look for, is what when you start to talk about it or you think about doing it, your whole energies, you feel that fire just want to come up and out in not a destructive way, but in a really aligned, like fueling you, warming you, expressing your soul kind of way. When you follow pleasure, not just comfort, you fuel your fire. It's I know there's nuance there, but when we're just trying to make ourselves comfortable, maybe that might be overindulgent. But if we're following genuine pleasure, enjoyment, it's usually pretty healthy for us. All right. So just a few ideas here as you are moving forward. If you are trying to rebuild a creative practice or you're trying to make it more sustainable, here are some options. You could literally do any one of these things. You could do all three. One, make it a scheduled ritual. So consistent time, consistent place, make it a habit. I write every week with Dr. Bird on Wednesdays, pretty much every week. And it is a consistency, a ritual that makes sure that I sit down and I write at least once a week. Creating an opening ritual. I actually have right here a little candle and some, I think that's cedar right there. When I sit down to do a project, usually light a candle, and I might do some smoke cleansing first to shift my energy into, okay, I'm going into creative mode. Oftentimes my opening ritual is just leaving my house and going somewhere else for a few days, because that's when I do a lot of my writing. You can pair it with something else. So maybe you really want to listen to podcasts. Like you have this long list of podcasts you've wanted to listen to, but you also want to paint or knit or do something with your hands. You could absolutely layer those two things together and be like, it's podcast listening time, but I'm also crocheting this blanket. Right? So how can you pair your creativity with something else that maybe makes more room for it as you're navigating making more and more space? I want you to remember everyone is creative. Creativity is your birthright. It's how you bring newness into the world. It's how you self-express. The point is expression and energy movement, not mastery. And I want you to remember that your unique expression is needed. So many times, I mean, I don't have like a huge audience. I am not famous. I'm not making millions of dollars off of expressing myself. But I can tell you this, my unique expression is needed because 5, 10, 20 people, over time more and more come forward and they say, I needed that. Or your book moved me in this way. Or that blog really changed my perspective. Or this podcast really changed my perspective. Your unique expression is needed in whatever way it's needed. So whether you're a writer, painter, gardener, spreadsheeter, business builder, it does not matter. What you are driven to is needed. It was given to you for a reason. So, if you're wanting to explore this energy more, you can doodle or have like a new artistic medium. I've been exploring watercolor a little bit more over the last like year where I'd never touched it in my life before. You can write morning pages. Love morning pages. They're just stream of consciousness dumps. They can get us out of our own creative way. Move to music in your living room. Put on a good song and bop. Hum or sing in the car or the shower. I'm constantly singing wherever I can, whenever I can. Cook a meal with intention and presence. These are all ways to express your creativity. So maybe play with one. All right, my favorite time. We're going to drop into some moments of meditation here. And this is just to connect. We're just going to connect in. So I invite you to participate along with me if you want, or come back to this. But we're just going to begin to really feel into this relationship between the body and the spirit. So we'll start with the body, maybe doing one of those gentle body scans, scanning, starting at the top of your head and slowly working your way down your body to notice any areas of tension, tingling, numbness, or even positive sensations. Noticing what you notice, feeling what you feel. And then expanding your awareness out from your body by, let's say, 6 inches. So just noticing the air about 6 inches around your body. And you might feel this energy. You might feel a vibration there. You might know that this is your auric field. If you don't feel it, that's okay. You can just connect with it, knowing that it's part of you. And then from your spine, from your heart space, connecting up all the way through the spine, up the crown of the head, up into the sky. Perhaps seeing this as a silver cord as you connect to your higher self, your soul self, your spirit. And breathe between those connections, breathing down from the highest self down into the body. As you exhale, allowing yourself to soften more and more. Feeling this connection between body and spirit. Between your physical body and your energetic body. And just affirming here, allowing my words to be your own if they feel good to do so. Taking in these affirmations. I am embodied. My sacred body is the temple of my soul. My body allows me to express. I express through my hands. I express through my movement. I express through my voice. I allow myself to express my voice. I allow myself to express my truth. I allow myself to create for me. I am creative. I am a creator. My body is mine. I get to act through my body however I wish. I choose to express myself. I choose to express myself. When I express myself, I use my magic. My magic is needed in the world. My voice is needed in the world. My creativity is needed in the world. There is no one right way to create. I create. I am creator. I create. Just breathing in the energy of creativity, perhaps imagining it like a fire. Yellow, orange, red, maybe even blue or white blazing in the flame. As you breathe it in, allowing it to flow head to toe, fueling you, fueling the spark of your own fire within you, connecting you to that spirit, to that creative force within you. Breathe it in and let it go. Soften as you exhale, letting go of this practice. And if you found your eyes closed, you can gently blink them open in your own time. Take some moments to stretch. So important that we come back to our bodies. Mm. Do our little no tiger twist. Look around. All right, my friends. So, last but not least, this week's Creative Fire practice invitation is to choose an embodied creative practice. Whether you do art, move your body, use your voice, it does not matter. Pick what calls to you and don't be worried about being good. Just focus on expressing yourself. Like I said the other day, I put on a recorder, I sang some light language just to have fun. Will we do anything with it? I have no idea. Would it be cool? Sure. Did it help me move some stuff? Yes. So focus on the moving the stuff that's within you that needs to come out. Maybe set a small specific intention. So I will dance to one song each morning. I'll doodle for 5 minutes before bed. I'll hum or tone for 3 minutes daily. Toning, super simple. It's literally just like la, like you just make a sound and you keep making the sound just to let your voice move it. And it can move a lot of stuff. So whatever your small specific intention is, let it be something easy. They can be way smaller than this. It does not have to be a daily practice. Be creative or expressive one time this week, and you will perhaps be further along than you are. And finally, noticing what happens in your body And this goes with step 4, which is following your pleasure. So, how does creative expression change your energy? What gets released or moves through you? What does your body want to express? And what feels good? So, following that pleasure, what feels good? What makes you feel alive? Let your pleasure guide the practice. You are so very welcome, Lisa. I'm glad that it was useful today. And next week, just for a little preview, we're going to be talking about the Phoenix Rising, because the Phoenix and fire obviously go hand in hand. We're going to be talking about the sacred art of destruction, or the art of sacred destruction, and how we can burn away what no longer serves and use destruction to create space for creation. And we'll talk a little bit about some other more challenging emotions like anger, passion, etc., for fuel. So I hope this was useful for you. Again, my biggest takeaway I want for you to hold and integrate is that you are inherently creative. There is not one right way to do it. You don't have to sell it to be creative. You just get to be creative because you're a human being and you have a voice and or hands and or a body to express yourself with. So, I love you so much. I will see you back here live in 2 weeks. Otherwise, you know where to find me. Either leave a comment, send me an email, go on over to my website. I am here to support, and all as always, thank you to the Passionistas. All right, my friends. Until next time, I'm Safriana Luna, and this has been an episode of Elements of Success. Bye for now.